Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Yomi, which is Yevamos Pei Aleph. We are on Pei Amud Beis, 2 lines from the bottom. Hasoris. Shechalatz liivim toilei pasla v'chulu. As we learned yesterday, a soris, a fellow who has a severe hormonal imbalance, according to some shittos, it was there from day one. He was born with that condition. He is pater from chalitza, from yibum. If his brother passes away, no children, and he is the surviving brother, he cannot do yibum. He doesn't do chalitza because, after all, he can't rebuild his brother's family. The Mishnah tells us if he proceeds and does chalitza, it has no effect. It has no validity. Loi pasla. This Yivam who receives chalitza from this fellow does not become disqualified from marrying a kohen because the chalitza has no effect. Now, if this brother who is not meant to do yibum does yibum, lives with her as married, he makes her pasal lekahuna because she is treated as a zoina. Tama de ba'alahu. That's only because he interacted with her in this manner. Ha acher lei, but it sounds like if somebody else, a stranger, a non-brother, would have done the same, wouldn't have the same effect on the Isha. Even though, look, there are many brothers here, aside from this Saris. The other brothers are meant to do the Yibum. She's not meant to go marry a stranger. That's a Yevama l'shuk, that's a lav. Nevertheless, it sounds from the Mishnah that if she goes ahead and marries someone else, although there's a lav, it doesn't make her a Zaina. This seems to be a kasha on Rav Amnuna. The Amar who tells us Shemeres Yavam Shezin Pesula, even a Shemeres Yavam is treated somewhat like a semi-married woman, like an Eshes Ish, because she's bound to the Yavam. If she goes and marries a stranger, she goes and interacts with a stranger, it's as though she committed znus, she's pasal kahuna, and not only that, she's pasal to her yavam, pesula liyavama, as Rav Amnuna tells us, because it's like an Eshes Ish, like a married woman who does nus, she becomes usher to her husband. In our Mishnah, it seems that only if this fellow interacts with her inappropriately, because look, he's a brother-in-law. If he's not really a yavam, because he's a saris, then in effect, he interacted with an erva. She's his brother's wife. So that's why she becomes pasal. But if she would have gone to someone else out there, it wouldn't have the same effect. And that's a kasha on Rav Amnuna, who treats her like an Eshes Ish, in which case if she strays, she becomes pasal. Says the Gemara, not necessarily. Hu adin afilu la'acher nami, perhaps the same exact consequence would come about even if she interacted with somebody else, because she's not meant to. A Yevama l'shuk. That's like an Eshes Ish doing his nus. I did the Tana Reisha b'dei, because we spoke about him in the first part of this halacha. This fellow, this Sarah's brother, doesn't do chalitza. Tana nami sefer b'dei. Likewise, when we discussed the Yibum aspect, we also made reference to him doing the Yibum, but actually the same exact effect would have occurred if she would have gone and interacted with somebody else out there. The same halacha that applies to the brother who is a saris applies to the Yevama if she is a islandess, unfit to bear children. There's no chalitza, there's no yibum. And if they did chalitza, no effect. If they did yibum, she's very much affected. They committed znus, and therefore she's no longer fit to marry a kohen. Tama de balua. That's only because they interacted with her as married. Haloi balua, but otherwise, loi, she can go marry a kohen, even though she's an islandess, cannot bear children. Keman, the like Rabbi Yehuda. Apparently, this is not following Rabbi Yehuda's shita, the Rabbi Yehuda, because according to him, Ha'amar, didn't he tell us back on the Samach Aleph, island is zoyah here. An isha who can't bear children is treated comparable to a zoyna with respect to marrying a kohen. A marriage which can't produce a family has an element of a znus to it, and therefore a kohen shouldn't get involved with this Isha. Now, Mishnah, it seems, we're not concerned with that factor. Continues the Mishnah. Let's switch tracks from Yibum to your typical marriage. Sris Chama Kohen Shenasa Bas Yisrael. This fellow was born with the Saris condition. He happens to be a Kohen, married a Bas Yisrael, Machila B'Truma, he can feed her Truma. Says Rashi on the third line, Sris Kama Kohen V'chul Aval Sris Adam, but let's say it was a man-made condition, he was injured, Mifsal Nami Pasla Mitruma de Benasha. Not only can't he feed her Truma, he actually makes her puzzle from even going back home to her parents, who happen to be Kohanim, if they are. Because the Hainu P'tzodaka, that is a P'tzodaka, who may not marry, who may not interact with an Isha, makes her puzzle by way of that interaction. Here we're speaking about a Sris Chama. That's not a P'tzodaka. He was born with this hormonal imbalance, which doesn't allow him to bear children, so that's not a P'tzodaka. And the Chiddush of the Mishnah is, if he should be a Kohen, and her a Bas Yisrael, he can feed her Truma. Rabbi Yesi, Rabbi Shimon Oimrim, let's go over to the androgynous. This unique being, a combined male-female. If this fellow is a Kohen, Shenasa Bas Yisrael, marries a Bas Yisrael, here as well, we treat him like a male, Ma'achila B'Truma, can feed her Truma. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, what about a Tumtum, whose Simoni Zachar Nekev are hidden and concealed? Turns out, Shenikra V'Nimtza Zachar, it was uncovered. It was discovered as a Zachar. He still cannot do chalitza if he is to find himself in a yavam situation. Why not? Because Rabbi Yehuda treats the tumtum like his saris. He can't bear children, and therefore he's ineligible for yibum or chalitza. Getting back to the androgynous, we say noise, he can marry someone else. We treat him like a zachar. Avaloy nisa, but he can't be on the receiving end of a marriage because we treat him like a man. Rabbi Lezer Omer, a step further, androgynous, chayavan of skila kazachar. If one interacts with an androgynous as married, skila results. We treat him like a male. Back to the first halach of the Mishnah, Pshita, isn't it obvious and evident that if a Kohen marries a Bas Yisrael, he can feed a Truma? So what? That he's a Soris Chama. Why would that disable him from feeding her Truma? Ma'odatema, perhaps I would think, Moilid Machal, only one who has the ability to bear children, he can feed, because the pasuk speaks about Yilid Beisoy Hein Yochlu B'Lachma, in that pasuk that describes the Kohen feeding his household. Truma, Yilid Beisoy, those born in his household. Perhaps I would say that having the ability to bear children is a prerequisite, a precondition to the Kohen feeding his family. Moilid, only if he can have children, Machal can he feed. She'eni Moilid, but if he doesn't have that ability, Eni Machal, he can't feed his wife. Kamashmon, the Chiddush of the Mishnah is, it's irrelevant and unaffected by his ability or inability to have children. Let's move over to the androgynous. Rabbi Yesi, Rabbi Shimon Oimrim, androgynous, he can feed his wife teruma, should he be a Kohen, and her a Bas Yisrael. Amr Lakish, what type of teruma? We're limited to teruma d'Rabbanan. You know, there are certain things which are only chayiv and teruma d'Rabbanan, like fruits and vegetables. Because Min HaTorah only dagan tirosh v'yitzar, grain, olives and grapes, but otherwise everything is only midrabanan. That is what he can feed her. Amr Lakish ma'achila b'truma v'ein ma'achila b'chazav v'sheik. Only teruma, which the Gemara soon will tell us is speaking about teruma d'Rabbanan, but he can't feed her the portions of the karbanis that he gets. Why? Rish Lakish understands that according to Rabbi Yossi in the Mishnah, androgynous is not a bona fide zachar. He's a suffix entity, suffix zachar, suffix nekeva. So when it comes to feeding her chazav v'sheik, real kachim, that he cannot do. Asks the Gemara, Rish Lakish. Now the Gemara at this point didn't yet understand what Rish Lakish had in mind. Why this distinction between truma and chazav v'sheik? Rish Lakish, ma'ishna chazav v'sheik d'oraisa. Why is it that when it comes to those items which are min HaTorah, you don't allow him to feed her? Truma na d'oraisa. Isn't truma d'oraisa as well? Why that difference? Oh, hacha b'mayaskirin. You know what we're speaking about? But truma b'zman hazeh d'Rabbanan. Nowadays, when not all of Klal Yisrael are to be found on Eretz Yisrael, Rish Lakish assumes that according to Rabbi Yossi, the chiyuv, the concept of truma nowadays is only with the Rabbanan, and that's what Rabbi Yossi allows him to feed her. Asks the Gemara, okay, Aval Bizman Shabeis HaMikdash Kaim Mai Loi. But what do you mean to say? That if it's Truma in the time of the Mikdash, where it's Minat Torah, you don't allow him to feed her. So then why do you have to jump to Chazav V'Shoik, Ad Tani? Instead of saying, Ein Ma'achila B'Chazav V'Shoik, he can feed a Truma but not Chazav V'Shoik, just make that differentiation within the Truma itself. Lifloik V'Lisni B'Dida, you can make that distinction within the Truma. Look, it depends when. Truma, sometimes yes, sometimes not. If it's Daraisa, no. Darabanan, yes. But Me'ador Marmurim, when is it allowed? But Truma Darabanan. Nowadays, when I told him Darabanan, Avo B'Truma Daraisa Loi, but when it's Minat Torah, then he shouldn't feed her. Why does he have to cross over to Chazav V'Shoik to bring out his point? Guess what? That's exactly what Rish Lakish is saying. Kishu Ma'achila, when Rabbi Yossi allows the androgynous to feed his wife, Ma'achila B'Truma Bizman Hazeh Rabban. He meant like this. Only nowadays when the Truma is Rabbanon, then he can feed her that Truma. But Ve'ein Ma'achila, but he can't feed her anything. Bizman Chazav V'Shoik. When the Mikdash is standing, when we have Chazav V'Shoik, at that point, everything is off the table. Va'afilu b'Truma D'Rabban. He can't even give her not only Chazav V'Shoik, not only Truma D'Rais, even if you'll find something which are only Truma D'Rabban, like figs, like other fruits and vegetables, that he can't feed her even though they're D'Rabban. You know why? There's a gzera. One thing might lead to the next. Dilma Asri Lo Eichla b'Truma D'Rais. He might feed her something which is Truma D'Rais. So bottom line is according to Rish Lakish, it's all time related, history related. Bizman Hazeh. When we only have Truma. And that's what Rish Lakish meant to say. Ma'achila b'Truma. When you only have Truma, you don't have the Karbanas. Meaning, nowadays, he can feed her Truma D'Rabban. But Ein Ma'achila b'Chazav V'Shoik means when we have the opportunity, when we have the Zman of Chazav V'Shoik, meaning when we have the Mikdash, then he can't feed her anything, whether it's Chazav V'Shoik or Truma Minat Torah, or whether even Truma D'Rabbanan, because one thing might lead to the next. So that's whose Shita? That's Rish Lakish. Rabbi Yehuda Amar, he disagrees. Af Ma'achila b'Chazav V'Shoik, according to this Shita in the Mishnah, Rabbi Yossi, an androgynous can feed his wife, even something which is Kaddish Minat Torah, a part of a carbon. There's no difference between one and the other. Apparently, Rabbi Yossi considers him a Vadai Zachar. He's a Kohen, married a wife. He can feed her everything that every Kohen can feed his wife. Amalei Rabbi Yechon Rish Lakish. Rabbi Yechon asks Rish Lakish as follows. You're coming with the notion, the starting point, that according to Rabbi Yossi, Truma nowadays is Midrabban, right? That's your starting point. Is that true? Mi Savris, Truma Bezman Hazeh D'Rabbanan? Is that so? Is that a fact? Rish Lakish says, sure, yes, correct. Shani Shenim, because I have a brisa which discusses the following case, in which case it's apparent to us. It must be that this halacha is based on the precept that Truma nowadays is only in the Rabbanon. Look what the brisa says. Eagle bi'igulim oila. Eagle is a ring of pressed figs. Truma, it's Truma Tmeya, let's say. And it got mixed into 100 other rings, which are Truma Tahira. Or in the case of Truma and Chulin, Rashi says, you have a ring of Truma mixed into 100 rings of non-Truma material. Chulin. Oila. It becomes bottle, it becomes nullified. This proves that it's only Midrabanan. This proves that nowadays Truma is Midrabanan. You know why? Because otherwise it wouldn't be bottle. You know why? An eagle shel devela. This eagle of pressed figs has such significance, says Rish Lakish. It's so chashev. It's so distinguished. It cannot be bottle. So why is it? Apparently because we're speaking nowadays Trumas D'Rabbanan, on top of the fact that altogether Truma on figs is only d'Rabbanan. So you have that double d'Rabbanan. We allow the bittul to take hold. That proves my point, says Rish Lakish. That Truma nowadays is d'Rabbanan. Amar Leis, Rabbi Yechon responds, 1 second. V'aloi ani shayna, because I have a brisa. Chaticha b'chatichas oila. You can have slabs of meat. Of a chatos. No question there, the raisa. It's a korban chatos. Still, the brisa says, one can be batal on the other. You have one piece of meat, chatos, falls into 100 pieces of meat, non-korban, chulin, it's batal. So how does that work? How do I explain that halacha? Apparently it's unrelated to the Deraisa the Rabbanan equation, because here it's chatich of a korban. Oh. The answer is, mi savris kol shedarkoi limano yishaninu. There's a Mishnah coming up which singles out some items that cannot become nullified due to their chashivus, their importance, their prominence. For instance, something which is sold b'minyan. It's sold by count, individually, not just by bundle, by estimate. That indicates prominence and chashivas. So that's going to be in the Mishnah coming up. Now there are two ways to learn that Mishnah. There are two ways to interpret Rabbi Meir's Shita, who says that something which is going to be counted, sold by count, cannot be batal. Only sold by count, or even something which is sometimes sold this way, sometimes sold that way. That's also considered something which is chashav and has no bittul. Two ways to learn Rabbi Meir. And Rabbi Yechon and Rish Lakish are going to be arguing about that itself. How do you define davar shebeminyan, something which is sold by count and therefore cannot be batal? And Rabbi Yechon says, look, misavris, do you really think kol shedarkoi limane shaninu? The halacha of davar shebeminyan not being batal refers to kol shedarkoi limane, anything which is counted, even sometimes, such as the igule devela that you mentioned, those rings of figs, or the chaticha shel chatas, in which case you had a kasha. How could these things be batal? Sometimes they're sold by count. Doesn't that give them chashivas? The answer is no. Rabbi Meir is very specific when he singles out items that don't have bittul. Something which is exclusively sold by count, exclusively sold individually. That gives it prominence. That doesn't allow for bittul. So that's the focal point of the machlokes between Rish Lakish and Rabbi Yehuda. It sort of carries over into another discussion. Their shaila of how to learn our Mishnah spills into another discussion. Let's just backtrack for a second to keep our bearings. Rabbi Yossi tells us in the Mishnah that an androgynous can feed his wife. He's a kohen. He wants to feed his wife a bas Yisrael, truma, etc. He can do so. We treat him as a male who married an isha. Two ways to learn the Mishnah. Rosh Lakish says, he's really a suffix. How can he feed a truma? Nowadays, truma d'Rabbanan. Rabbi Yechon says no. He's treated like a vadai zachar, can feed her anything, like any other kohen. Rish Lakish says, I'll prove my point. That truma b'zman hazeh d'Rabbanan. Otherwise, how could the eagle of pressed figs, which is something important, which is sometimes sold individually, sometimes sold by count, how can it be batal? And I have a brisa that it is batal. If one eagle falls into 100 of chulin, eagle be gulam oila. So according to Rish Lakish, kol shedarkei limanos, even something which at times, occasionally is sold by count, cannot be batal. And here we find it's batal, because it's the Rabbanan. Truma b'zman hazeh the Rabbanan. And that's what Rabbi Yossi is referring to in our Mishnah. That's what this kohen will feed his wife. That's Rish Lakish's approach. Comes Rabbi Yechon, he says, no. Your starting point was sort of unsubstantiated. Es shedar kilimanis. Sure, some things can't be bottled, but only when they're exclusively sold by minyan, when they're counted individually. But some things which are sometimes individual, sometimes they're bundled together, that doesn't have chashivas to the extent that it can't be bottled. So your question was, an eagle is bottled? Sure. Even if it's truma b'zman hazeh de'oraisa, it's still bottled because it doesn't qualify as something which is davar shebeminyan. Because at times they sell them in bundles and by crates, by weight. Says the Gemara Mahi. Okay, what's where is the epicenter of this discussion? It's based on the following Mishnah. This now. Misha ha'ilu chavile tilson. This fellow has bundles of this tilson, bean, seasoning type of thing. Shel kalaya keren, which were planted in a vineyard, in which case they become asur bahana, they must be incinerated. Yidolku, you have to burn them. This arab b'acherus. Let's say this bundle gets mixed into other bundles. Kulon yidolku, everything goes to the furnace. Divi Rabbi Meir. Why? As we're going to see in a minute, Rabbi Meir holds that a bundle, that's chashiv. You sell them individually. Davar shebeminyan can't be bought. So even if it's mixed into another 1,000, not bought. Divi Rabbi Meir. Chacham, they disagree with the concept. They say yalu be'echad masayim. As long as you have 200 against this bundle, it's bottle. Typically it's 100, but Rashi says when it comes to orla, kilaya, keren, which are asr ba'hana, you need 200. You know why? When something is only asr ba'achila, 100 against 1 nullifies it. But here you have on top of the isra achila, isra hana, now I'll benefit from it, so that adds another 100. You need double as much. Instead of 100 against 1, 200 against 1, bottle. Rabbi disagrees. He would say, Kol shadar kilimanis mekadesh. Anything which is sold individually, anything which is counted separately. That gives it uniqueness and prominence. Mekadesh, it makes everything usher by way of mixing into them. No, they disagree with the concept. We have 6 very unique things, very exclusive items which are not going to be bottled. Unrelated to counting and davar shebeminyan. There are 6 special things. Rabbi Kiva Eimer, it's actually Shiva, 7, which are as follows: Eluheine Goize, these nuts from Perech, this place called Perech, V'Rimoine, pomegranates from Badan, V'Chaviyustumois, closed barrels of wine or oil, V'Chilfei Trodden, as trodden plant, some say it means beets, V'Kulchei Kruv, the heads of cabbage, V'Das Yivanis, a Greek pumpkins. Rabbi Kiva Moisav, he adds, number 7 is Af Kikre Shabalabayis, homemade breads. So we have a total of 6 or 7. The first 3 items on the list are Ru'uyin La'arla. They're fruit items which can be Arla. Arla, so they pose an Arla concern. The next on the list are only things which are potential Kalai HaKerem concerns, because they're not fruits, they're vegetables or plants. The Kalai HaKerem, fine, so they pose a Kalai HaKerem concern. Bottom line is, Rabbi Meir mentioned Kol Shadar Kelimanis. Rabbi Yechon and Rish Lakish would focus on Rameir's words and have that disagreement. How do we define Darkei Limanis? And the Mefarshim point out, this is how we paskin halacha, at least the Torah paskins like that, because we find that there's a discussion. In Rabbi Meir, apparently, that's the way the halacha concludes, that the davar shebeminyan is not batal. To what extent? How do we define davar shebeminyan? Here comes the machlekes. Rabbi Yechon Savar, he limits it to es shedarkei limanis shanina. We spoke about only something which is strictly sold by count, as opposed to those gulei devela, those rings of pressed figs. Sometimes they're sold this way, sometimes that way. They don't qualify. For Rish Lakish Savar, he takes it a step further. He broadens the definition. Kol shedarkei limanis shaninu. Kol shedarkei limanis shaninu. Everything that's meant to be counted, igulei devela, are included. And this serves the basis of Rish Lakish's assumption that Truma b'zman hazeh d'Rabban. Otherwise, how could the gulim be bottled? It's a davar shebeminyan. Answer is b'zman hazeh d'Rabbanon. Now Rabbi Yechon had brought a brisa where we find that chatichos are bottled as well, which he used to serve as his raya, serve the basis of his shita, that not everything is considered davar shebeminyan. You have chatichas of a carbon, certainly doiraisa, and still batal. Why? Because it's not as shadar kalimani. Sometimes they're counted separately, but not always. Sometimes they're sold by weight. They don't qualify as davar shebeminyan. So let's have a look at his brisa. My chaticha. What was the brisa that contained the chaticha example? The sanya. Chaticha shel chatas tmei. You have a piece of a chatas which is tummy. Shenis arva b'mei chatichas shel chatois tahiris. Got mixed to 100. With 100 of chatichas of chatas which are tar. V'chein, and likewise, another example is prusa shel lechem aponim tmei. Of a slice of lechem aponim which happens to be tummy. Shenis arva got mixed in with b'meyach prusay shel lechem aponim tahiris. 100 lechem aponim slices which are tar. Tala becomes batal. What do you mean? It's doiraisa. Answer is because it's not something which is always counted. It doesn't have that chashivas. It's not defined as davar shebeminyan. Rabbi Yehuda lo yisala. He disagrees. He says it can't be batal. Why can't it be batal? The Gemara soon will discuss. Then we have the next case in the brisa. This safe. Aval, but in the following case, we don't allow bittul. Midrabanan. Why? Chaticha shel chatas tar. You have a piece of a chatas which is tar. Shenis arva b'mei chatichas shel chulin tahir, mixed in with 100 pieces of meat. Chulin tahiris. Or v'chein prusa shel lechem aponim tahir. You have a piece of lechem aponim which is tar. So unlike the ratio where the piece was tamei, here it was tahir. Shenis arva b'mei prusa shel chulin tahiris. Got mixed into another 100 slices of bread which are tar. In this case, it wasn't tummy that fell into tar, like in the first case of the brayse, like in the ratio. Here in the sefer, we're speaking that they're both tar. The problem is, it's one piece of kachim versus 100 of chulin. What happens now? Is a batal? Divrei HaKol all agree, even Tanakama agrees, Loi Sa'ala, we don't allow bittul. Why? Rashi explains because in this case, there isn't much to lose. Just sell the whole mix to a coin for a discount. It's only hefsed mu'at, in contrast to the ratio of the brisa, where there's no alternative to applying bittul, because look, it's chatos tmeya, inedible to anybody. A Yisrael and even a kohen can't have it. Unless you say bittul, everything becomes aser. So in that case, we allow bittul. But in this case, with the Rabbanan, we don't allow it. Rashi says because of there are three elements here, three components. Number one, it is something chashav. It's a chaticha of chatas. Although not a es shadar limanos, but it has chashivas and can be confused with something that's really prominent. So that's one reason, one strike against it. Number two, we're speaking about Issa D'Oraisa. Number three, it's only hefsed mu'at. It's only a small, very very small loss here, because as we explained, you can sell to the kohen for a discount. In this case, we don't allow bittul. So that's the brisa which served as a raya to Rabbi Yehuda Shita, that unless it's es shadar kilimoni, something which is exclusively dealt with individually, otherwise it will be batal, such as the prusa of the lechem aponim, the chatich of the chatas, they're batal. And Taisus actually asks, what's the big deal about the prusa lechem aponim? It's not something which is even occasionally sold by count. It's just a slice of bread. He says that has a special chashivas. He said it's made from high quality flour, and he says v'ro'ilis chabed boy. It has extra prominence. It's distinguished. In fact, we know that in halacha, Taisus brings, this is a long Taisus, he brings about the concept of middle Taisus, the bottom Taisus mainly. He speaks about something which is ro'ilis chabed, something which you would honor a guest with it. You would serve a chashav a guest with it. Davar haroilis chabed is also not batal. So that would be the concern with the prusa of lechem aponim. End of the day, we say it is a batal when there is a hefsed. But in the last case of the brisa, since it's we're dealing with just a minor monetary loss, we don't allow the bittul. In any case, a ketane mias reisha. What does the brisa start with? A case where we have a chaticha of chatas, which is sometimes singled out and counted separately. It's kol shadar kili manis, which according to Rish Lakish cannot be batal. And what does the Risha say? Ta'ala, it's batal. It's like Kash and Rish Lakish. Huna. We're not speaking that the piece is intact. It's been dissolved. You've turned into a soup. So there's no dark money. There's nothing there to count. And that's why it's batal. That's how Rish Lakish is going to interpret this brisa, which will be consistent with his view that even kol shadar kilimanis can't be batal. Here it doesn't apply. It's dissolved. It's liquefied. If that's the case, I was speaking about liquefied mush. My time with Rabbi Yehuda, why would Rabbi Yehuda not allow bittul to take place? Remember, Tanakam allowed it. Rabbi Yehuda didn't. Why? It's a soup. Says the Gemara, that's exactly the problem. Rabbi Yehuda is following his shita. The Amar min b'minalei batal. You have two things of the same flavor, same type. They don't challenge each other and they don't nullify each other. Each one takes a seat and they live in peace and harmony with each other. The whole point of bittul is they negate each other. Two opposing forces. They don't negate each other. And they let each other live, and there's no bittul. Rashi brings the mockers from the he says Rashi says the reader speaks about kisi adam and v'hakoymes, that's a menachos. So the Gemara speaks about the fact that the kohen used to mix, and Kippur used to mix the dam par, which was way more than the dam hasor. Used to mix them together, and still we treat them both as they are there. They're not batal. In fact, the pasuk says lokach b'dam hapar umidam hasor. They're both present in that mix. What do you mean? It's batal. The answer is because it's min b'minay. Dam and dam go together. They live in harmony and they don't negate each other. So that's why according to Rabbi Yehuda, exactly because it is nimaycha, because it is a soup, because it was mixed in together, and they're both the same type of thing. This is meat and that's meat. They can't be batal. And Taisus points out over here that dafka b'davar lachum is arif. Islay the Rabbi Yehuda d'lei batal. Taisus brings dumi dam par dam asur. You see, he says, if it's liquefied and mixed together, then Rabbi Yehuda says min b'min is not batal. But let's say it's not liquefied, not in a liquid form. It's in a solid state. You have two dry items side by side. Even according to Rabbi Yehuda, it is batal. If you ask why, so this says it's a svara. Let's think about it. I'll read the Taisus inside. He says, "Usvaru the dava hamisarif." When something is mixed in, mispashit tama isur b'koil haheter. The flavor. We're dealing with flavor now. The flavor of the isur spreads throughout the rest of the material. V'lei batal, and since they both have the same flavor, the isur and the heter, it's not nothing. There's nothing there to challenge it and to be mevatel it. So it's asur. Aval davar yavish, but something which is dry and not mixed in with the rest, just sitting side by side. The isur part is just sitting there. You just don't know where it is, you can't identify it. So in that case, the isur is batal. Let's look at it this way. When we're dealing with a mixture, what's the concern? The concern is that the tam, the flavor, the taste of the isur is somewhere in this mixture. You don't see the isur, it's the flavor that spreads and makes it asur. Well, guess what? When there's 16 times as much, it's batal. But, says Rabbi Yehuda, that's only because it's a different type of flavor. When they're both the same identical flavor, then they don't challenge each other, they don't negate each other, they don't oppose each other, they're not mevatel each other. Because we're dealing with the flavor aspect of the two items. Same flavor doesn't negate, doesn't nullify. But when it's not an issue of flavor, it's an issue of whereabouts. They're not mixed in. It's not a question of the flavor of the isur affecting the rest. There's no flavor spreading. He's sitting wherever he is, separate from the rest. You just don't know where he is. They're sitting side by side, so to speak. You just don't know where he is. It's not a flavor issue. It's a substance issue. since you have more heter than isser, the isser is batal. If we deal with flavors, then you have to deal with, are they different? Are they the same flavor? Do they match? Do they oppose each other? We're not dealing with flavors, we're dealing with substance. Where is he? So in the context of this type of bittul consideration, flavor is a non-issue. Irrelevant of whether they're the same or different flavors. Right? So in this case, since we have more heter items than isser, then you could just be mevatel the isser and just pick anyone out and you say, well, it must be the heter. Because the more chance that you have heter than isser. That's Tosfos Chiddush. Interesting chap. In any case, back to the price. Rabbi Yehuda says no bittul because they're mixed together and they're the same min b'min loy batal. Asks the Gemara. My loy salam. Okay, let's get back to the brisa that Rish Lakish describes as being nemoicha. The meat was ground together, was mixed together. And that's why in the Reisha it's batal. But suppose it was not nemoicha. The pieces of meat were intact. What would happen? Loy salah wouldn't be batal. Why? Again, Rish Lakish holds any item which has an element of minyan in it, which is even occasionally counted, that gives it prominence and can't be batal, such as a piece of meat. If so, why does the Bryce have to switch tracks? We started with the piece tameh, got mixed into with the 100 tar, and then we switched to another case where there is no betel. What's that case? A piece of chatas which is tar, mixing with 100 which are tar, and Rashi explained it's only hefsed mud, sell to the kain, we don't allow the betel. Why do we have to switch cases? The reason why in the first case, the reason why in the ratio it's batal is because it was nimaycha, it was dissolved, and no longer has identity, no longer has chashivas, no longer has distinction. If you're looking for a case where it wouldn't be batal, just say, well, it wasn't dissolved, and it has distinction, and it has chashivas. That's all, simple as that. Tameh got mixed in tar. Is it batal? Well, it depends. If it's dissolved, it is. If it isn't dissolved, it isn't. What if it wasn't dissolved? What would happen? It wouldn't be batal. So why does the Mishnah have to switch to ava chaticha shachatas tahira? Shenis ava b'mei chaticha shachon tahira is loisala. We come with a new case. A piece of chatas which is tar mixed with 100 which are tar. It's not going to be batal. We had an explanation from Rashi. 3 principle. Go simple, straightforward. You can find a distinction within the Reisha itself. Differentiate as follows. When do we say it's batal? What's batal? The chaticha of the chatas tmeya with 100 of chatois tahir is batal. When is that? When it doesn't have significance, when it doesn't have prominence, when it's not a davar shebeminyan, when it's dissolved and liquefied. But otherwise, if it's intact, lo yisala, it can't be batal. And stop right there. That is the main criterion that we're dealing with. Is it minyan or not minyan? Is it intact or not intact? Answers the Gemara. Tahiris b'tahiris adiflei. The Brisa preferred moving over to the next case where the Isser is tar and the Heter is tar, and wanted to point out even a greater chiddush, because as Rashi points out, you see when it's tameh with tar, there's a whole shaila based in the Gemara and Mishnah and Para, whether it's in Truma, where it's batal or not, but when it's both tar, there's all the more reason that it should be batal. When the Isser is tar and the Heter is tar, and still, in this case it's not. Reason, as we explained, because it has chashivas and is only a very minor loss, etc. As Rashi explained, that's a greater chiddush that the Brisa wanted to get involved with, and therefore we picked that case. Okay, Bez Hashem to be continued tomorrow. In the meantime, what did we learn? We started with the Soris and the Eilinist. There's no Chalitza, there's no Yibum. If there is Chalitza, well, Chalitza has no value. It doesn't affect the Isha's status. She can go marry a Kohen at will. If they do Yibum, that's a problem, because that's an inappropriate interaction. It makes her a Zoyna. We had in the Mishnah about a Srus Chama Kohen, a Soris, who marries. He's a Kohen, he can feed his wife Teruma. Don't think it depends on being able to have children. No, Chiddush is, it's okay in this case as well. Androgynous, this combined fellow, Ish v'Isha, he marries. Rabbi Yossi says he can feed his wife teruma. Oh, here starts a big controversy. Rabbi Yehuda says, look, truma is truma. The Raisa, the Rabbanan doesn't matter. Rish Lakish says, no, only Bizman Hazeh, it's the Rabbanan. So the point is, he can give her only truma the Rabbanan, Bizman Hazeh. But if it's Bizman HaMikdash, he can't give her anything. Not Chazav Shaykh, not Truma Daraisa, nor even Truma Darabanan, because it might lead to Truma Daraisa. This led us on to this whole discussion regarding cases where we don't allow bittul. So just to summarize, we have Shitas Rabbanan, with Rabbi Akiva in the Mishnah as well. Only certain very prominent and significant things don't have bittul. It's either 6 or 7 items. That's it. Rabbi Meir says, there's another factor at play. A davar shebeh, something which is meant to be counted individually, that gives it exclusivity, gives it uniqueness, and can't be batal. In Rameir itself, we have 2 ways to learn. Rabbi Yehuda says only something which is always meant to be counted. Even something which is occasionally sold by count has that chashivas. And we concluded with Rabbi Yehuda's shita, which is that min b'minoi is loy batal. All of us do, and hatzlacha rabbah.